This is the report of the Oxford Swift City Swift Survey for 2021. It's based on data from the Swift Mapper provided by the RSPB and the company Natural Aptitude. The aims of our annual survey are to identify where swifts are nesting in Oxford and identify any trends in the numbers of breeding swifts from year to year. Our volunteers were asked to survey their allocated square twice a month in May, June and July. But the data includes records submitted by non-Oxford Swift City volunteers, as the mapper is publicly available. And we encourage everyone to submit relevant sightings, even if not on an official survey. In comparing the records from year to year, we need to take into account the number of surveyors, the number of squares surveyed, and the number of survey hours. This year, we managed to survey 103 squares. Thanks to 91 surveyors. We're very grateful to them for giving us such wide coverage. That's almost 50% increase on last year. The number of survey hours increased by 13%. We think that the reason the survey hours increased by less than the number of surveyors is probably because the weather was particularly unfavorable through May, and many surveyors reported that there really weren't any suitable evenings on which to survey. This map shows 138 survey squares that cover the urban built-up parts of Oxford City. The orange squares are squares that we surveyed this year and last year, and can therefore do some comparisons. The red squares were surveyed this year, so they are largely new squares for us. And the green squares we didn't manage to reach this year, though there may be individual records submitted in those squares. We have managed to increase the number of nests identified each year so far. The total maximum low-flying swifts, that number is adding up the maximum number counted in each square. And so that number is very much dependent on the number of squares that we reach. So in 2021, our surveyors found 113 nests in the city, and that's a 20% increase on the year before. So congratulations to our volunteers. The total maximum number low-flying swifts increased to 490, and that change is largely in line with the increased number of squares we covered. Only 5 of the nests that we found were in nest boxes. Vast majority were therefore in holes in buildings, under roofs, etc. And the vast majority of nests were found in private houses, with only small numbers in flats, schools, other public buildings. And over 3/4 were in houses built before the Second World War, and the vast majority of the rest in houses built between the Second World War and the year 2000. Very few in newer buildings. This is taken from the Swift Mapper and shows the nests found in 2020. This is the situation in 2021. The biggest increase seems to have been along the southern bypass and the outer parts of Cowley into Littlemore. Also increases in Headington, largely due to our increased coverage there. And the main decrease seems to be the Summertown area in North Oxford. This map shows the number of nests found in each survey square. The red squares have 9 or more nests, the orange squares 5 to 8, and so on. You can see the strongest numbers are in the inner parts of the Iffley and Cowley roads into St. Clement's. Good numbers out in Cowley as well, and along the southern bypass. There's one good square still in Summertown. This map shows the gains and losses since last year. The red squares have seen increased numbers of nests. The blue squares have shown decreases. Interesting to note that our stronger areas have shown decreases this year. This comes from the mapper and shows the places where swifts were seen flying low in 2020. And this is the equivalent for 2021. The significance of seeing low-flying swifts in an area is that it's indicative that they're nesting there. So if we haven't found nests, but we see a lot of swifts flying low over the rooftops, it probably means we haven't found them yet. This map shows the squares in which we did not find any nests and gives the numbers of low-flying swifts seen. And you can see the red square in the center there, that's St. Giles in the city center. The orange squares would have the next highest numbers, some around Temple Cowley and in Olsney. So those are areas where there may be more nests that we haven't found. Our thanks to Ellen Lee from Thames Valley Environmental Record Centre for producing these maps of the squares. There were 64 squares recorded this year and last year. In those squares, the number of nests in total was up by 9. That's compared to 19 over the whole city. 18 squares saw an increase in numbers of nests, 9 saw a decrease. The numbers of low-flying swifts in those squares was up by 81 in total. 23 squares saw an increase in numbers, 19 a decrease. So a mixed picture overall. Given that the weather this summer wasn't very favourable for swifts, particularly in the month of May when they were looking for nests, we're pleased to see that the numbers have certainly held up this year. Big thanks due to our volunteers for providing excellent coverage of Oxford, but there are still 35 squares unsurveyed. If you're interested in helping us in 2022, please contact us at oxfordswiftcity@rspb.org.uk. We can send you information about how to do the surveys. They're easy to do and they don't take a lot of time. Thank you for your interest.